All right, everybody, welcome to the first episode of what I'm going to call the Wholesaler's Playbook. Now, pretty much the whole purpose of this podcast that I'm creating is to essentially put into wholesalers' minds how to get consistent deal flow for the cheapest cost and what the journey is from 0 to 100 plus deals per year. Last year, in the year 2024, we did 84 wholesaling real estate deals and on track in 2025 to do more than 100 in just a local market of 250,000 people. I'm based out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota in the Midwest, not a very big area. But the good thing about that is there's not a whole lot of competition, and there's a lot more where your marketing funds can go a lot further. Now, obviously, I understand that not everyone's wholesaling in areas just like mine, but at the end of the day, I've really broke it down to 4 pillars of marketing. If you can nail these 4 pillars of marketing and do them consistently day in and day out and go in the order that I'm going to explain, I promise you will get results from it. You will definitely get consistent deal flow for the cheapest cost. Now, these 4 pillars, these are 4 different marketing systems that I have seen with every single piece of marketing that I have tried. I've tried pretty much everything you can think of out there. Direct mail, all the anything you can imagine, the most expensive things, the cheapest things, anything. And I have done it all, and I came down to the 4 things. If you do these 4 things correctly, I promise you, you will get results. But you have to be consistent. You can't do this for 1 month and then not do it. You have to do it until the end of time. To be honest, you have to just go in phases and continue as you can go, right? And just make your way, make your own trail, so to speak. You got to do that because wholesaling real estate, there's obviously a lot of easy ways to get deals. There's a lot of ways where you can just do pay-per lead. You can just do anything, which pay-per lead is the most popular right now, just because you can pay $250 to get a lead. The only problem is a lot of these leads are just kind of junk sometimes because it's a lot of people who are impulsively clicking on an ad and just filling out a form because they're, quote, curious, right? And that's where just you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble because it usually with pay-per-lead, no matter really where you're at, I mean, you're ranging anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 per signed contract and hope that you can make more than that on the contract, which if that's your play, good for you. But I'm going to show you the highest quality ways to get consistent motivated sellers for the cheapest cost. And pretty much my goal with the entire podcast is to wrap this entire thing around just getting motivated sellers for the cheapest cost. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. But let's get into the 4 pillars here. Now, the importance of these 4 pillars, like I said, is just making sure we are having the highest quality, consistent, motivated sellers for the cheapest cost. And there's a lot of ways to do this, like I said, but I'm going to go in these 4 pillars right now, and I'm going to go in order. If you are at 0 deals, this is what you should be doing right now, and that is cold outreach. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ways with cold outreach. You can do driving for dollars. You can do, texting, whatever the case may be. But I'm going to show you exactly how I do it and how I started and what worked very well. So obviously, in the beginning, when you're doing cold outreach, you're doing 0 deals or maybe have never done a deal ever in your life. Cold outreach is going to be the best. And no matter how much time you have, even if you're working a day job, you can still do this. That's what's great about it. Now, the thing that I would recommend is that you can use a texting platform called Smarter Contact. Basically, you don't even have to send messages at all if you never want to. You can simply just pick your list of people that you want to dial, which what I would recommend is buying a list either from whatever service you can use. They all really do the same at the end of the day. 10 cents a record on average. So if you want to get a list of 5,000 people, which is what I would recommend starting with, it's about $500. Right there, you're already $500 in. Then from there, you have these list of addresses that you're also going to cold call and recommend cold calling on an automatic dialer. Basically what an automatic dialer does, if you don't know what that is, it basically just dials the phone numbers for you and you can dial multiple lines at a time. That way you're not just sitting there dialing each number individually, because if you've seen skip tracing before, you get about 5 phone numbers per record. And obviously this can take hours and hours. I lasted about 3 days with this when I first started because I knew there had to be more of an efficient way. And what I switched into was using an automatic dialer. And you can use batch dialer, which is what I recommend at the beginning. And if you get later on where you have virtual assistants, that's where you can use dialers such as ready mode, which is a little bit more advanced, but that's for a later day to kind of explain to that one. But at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. They just dial as many lines as you, up to 5 lines usually. So that way you're just burning and burning and burning through these phone numbers at a good pace. That way you're usually every single minute or 2 minutes, you're talking to somebody on the phone who actually answered the phone. Whereas if you were just going to hand dial, it usually would take probably 25, 30 minutes to actually talk to somebody. So if you only have 1 hour a day, you can take this $500 and you can pay the $130 a month, I think is what it is for batch dialer. Go ahead and get this dialer. And then what you can now do is spend 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, if that's all you have, and just simply cold call, because you're going to talk to 15, 20 people. And from here, if you work a day job, obviously, if you don't have a job and you're, 18 years old and you're just, you're not in college, you have a lot of time on your hands, cold call till your absolute, your ears fall off at the end of the day. That's what you should be doing. You should be cold calling until you literally can't anymore each and every day, at least 8 hours a day, because this is going to put you in the best situation possible. Because at this point, when you're doing cold outreach, you literally have no leverage, you have no money, you have no credibility, you've never done a deal before most of the time, and so there's just not, you're swimming against the current, and you have to use cold outreach, because with cold outreach, most of these leads that you're actually getting, it's the exact right time. You're just at the right place at the right time. There's a lot of luck involved. But with that, because you have to find a way to compete against all the other people who are doing wholesaling in your market. There's always going to be a competitor who will always outspend you, always outmarket you. But at the end of the day, if you can out-effort them with where your current state is, you don't have VAs, all you have is time, or at least an hour a day, you can cold call with an American voice, a local person, and what this is going to do is give you so much of a benefit, because you know how many calls these people have gotten from, Filipino VAs, Egyptian VAs, wherever the case may be. I literally got my first deal that way, and the person literally told me that, yeah, I haven't really entertained anybody else because all I do is get calls from Filipinos, which they do great. But in the beginning, use that as a leverage. Use it as the point where, hey, I, have an American voice. I have, I'm a local. I've lived here my whole life. Use that to your advantage, where people are actually going to listen to you on the phone and have a real conversation with you, where they wouldn't entertain it because they think it's kind of scammy, right? Because that's what all your competitors are doing, is outsourcing their virtual assistants, which is later for down the road. But at this point in time, use yourself and just cold call every single day, because this is going to get you actual real good deals that no one else is going to be on at the end of the day, because you're just there at the right time. Most of these times when you cold call somebody, very rarely is another wholesaler on that deal or anybody else, because they haven't gotten there yet. You just kind of got lucky, but that's what you have to do in the beginning of wholesaling real estate. You have to get lucky and just build your portfolio of deals that you've done over time by getting consistently lucky. And how do we get consistently lucky? Is by working our ass off at the end of the day. That's just what it is. So that's the first pillar, is going to be outreach. Now, like I said, and I don't think I mentioned this, you can also use Smarter Contact for AI texting. It sends text messages automatically for you at whatever times you want it to, and it also automatically follow-ups for you. I would definitely use Smarter Contact for current day texting, because I know there's all kinds of companies that do this, and over time, the texting rules have gotten a lot harder. So what I would recommend to save you a lot of money, cold call as much as you can, and then simply only send text messages to the people that don't answer after however many times, because that's going to be your best bet. You don't want to waste money on text messages when you're already trying to cold call these people. You can if you want, if you have the funds to do it, but if you're really on a budget, simply spend that $500 on 5,000 people, cold call for the $130 a month dialer, and then from there, after a couple weeks, for the people who aren't answering, if you've already talked to, or if you've already dialed them, 5 to 10 times, which Batch Dialer will be able to show you each record on how many times you've tried to dial these people. Say you've tried to dial them 5 to 10 times, you now can put these into their own bucket and text these leads. That's what I'd recommend in the beginning, and that's phase one. Try to get at least 1 to 2 deals a month doing this, and I really do believe that you can, no matter what market you're in. So the second pillar, after you're doing 1 to 2 deals every single month, is what I would consider now pre-foreclosure phase, which is basically, we've already done the cold outreach, we've done a few deals, we have kind of the phases down, you understand the game, you've talked on the phone, you have understood real estate more. When I was first cold calling, I didn't even understand what a mortgage was. I didn't understand a lot of things, right? But when you cold call and people ask you different questions, it's forcing you to find the answer to these different questions, and you really learn everything you need to know about real estate when you cold call 8 hours a day, or at least 1 hour a day, for a long time, 6 months to a year. If you do it consistently, you will learn almost everything you need to know, because you're just going to come up, and there's things that are going to come up that you're just going to need to know the answer to, and that's that. So this is why I picked pre-foreclosures as phase 2. So pre-foreclosures are basically people who are not paying on their mortgage, and they are in what we call pre-foreclosure phase, because they are going into getting their house auctioned off, essentially is what's going on. But with that, Usually these people, this is a very interesting case, and that's why you need to understand real estate a lot more, and that's why I recommend doing cold calling that way first, because those are a lot easier. You don't need to know much more. You just catching these people at the right time. They want their price, call it a day. But pre-foreclosure, you really have to talk to these people, understand their situation, be able to provide them really, really good advice. And I'll tell you the first thing with pre-foreclosures that a lot of people really kind of misconstrue here. A lot of people call pre-foreclosures and they don't quite understand the fact that these people don't want to sell their house. There's a reason they're in pre-foreclosure, because if they wanted to sell their house, I guarantee you most of these people are normal people who are in pre-foreclosure, believe it or not. Obviously, you have some ins and outs, but you'll find that some of these pre-foreclosures are normal families, normal people with normal jobs. Obviously, they know people. They know realtors. They know all kinds of people that if they really wanted to sell their house today, they could call a realtor buddy. They could call whoever. Right? So they really more than times than not don't want to sell. But where you have your success in pre-foreclosure is just reaching out to these people, being a friendly face and saying, hey, I just want to let you know I specialize in these situations. I'm local in the area. I know exactly where this house is at. I've driven past it, 10 times, whatever your script is. But at the end of the day, if you can just let them know, here's the deal. Obviously, we buy houses, right? There's no way of dodging that. I'm not you understand that. We buy houses for cash to make a profit. But obviously, that is my last ditch effort that I want to do here. We understand the foreclosure process and we want to be kind of that helping hand with you, whether if that was your position in the end of it and you wanted to sell, then we would be the person, right? You want to pitch to them, say, hey, I want to help you out, and if all else fails, we'll be there to buy the house from you so that it doesn't go to foreclosure and ruin your credit. Obviously there's going to be people who are going to still dodge you away, and that's just pre-foreclosures. They're going to stick their head in the sand more times than not and simply just not understand the fact that, hey, you're going to foreclosure, you got to do something about it. Usually they just kind of stick their head in the sand and just hope it goes away. And that's just how most people are in pre-foreclosure. So where I usually like to get my pre-foreclosure data is the first way is going to what I call a website that's called trellis.law. This is actually a website that's not made for real estate investors at all. It's actually made for lawyers. I don't really remember what exactly it costs. I think it's like $75 a month or something like that. Honestly, I've been rocking with like a free trial for a long time. They just really haven't renewed my stuff, to be honest with you. But with that being said, what it's going to do is you can look up foreclosures in your state and whatever county you choose in, because it's going to show you the quickest filings for court cases, right? And so obviously you can find any topic on here. You can find, assaults or whatever. But in this case, I'm looking up specifically for foreclosure because what's happening is these banks are suing, right, in quotes, suing these people, these personal homeowners who aren't paying their mortgage because they're obviously going against what they are under contract to do, which is pay their mortgage and pay their interest and pay the loan off, right? And so essentially these banks are hiring law offices to sue these people, and which then goes into trellis.law, and it shows the court cases that are going on. So I would recommend doing this because honestly, in my opinion, some states are different. I'm in South Dakota, so obviously foreclosures are a very long process. People can go pretty much 2 to 3 years without having to make a mortgage payment before the process begins. And so pre-foreclosures in my area even are harder than most areas, just because these people are so deep in the game that they really just don't care anymore. You're better off, obviously, no matter what state, and this is also going to show here, even with people being in, not having to make your payment for 2 to 3 years, we still have success with pre-foreclosures. It's even better if the state that you're in is more, I guess, what's the word, lethal with, or strict, I should say, is probably more appropriate for their mortgage payments not being made. And so you have better success with that. But honestly, what I've seen in my state personally, that if you go to trellis.law, it is definitely without a doubt going to have the quickest way to find these people. Most of the time I go to Trellis and I find these people a lot sooner than I've ever seen it really before. So that's the first way. Second way is going to be using auction.com, obviously, but we're not going to just be using auction.com for the address. What we're really going into auction.com is to see when these properties are listed in whatever city that we're trying to do deals in or whatever. there's a little secret thing, and I'll screen share this if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening to this. I go to my YouTube channel, I have this screen shared where it's basically you can go into auction.com and there's going to be a little section at the bottom where it's going to show that the law office that's handling this foreclosure. More times than not, in most cities or counties, you're going to find that there's about 1, 2, or 3 law offices that handle foreclosures, and they niche down to foreclosures, and that's their specialty. Good thing about this is that there is a potential that you can go on these law offices' websites and basically, get foreclosure data. They basically will give out, maybe they have a private list, whatever the case may be, and that's the case in my specific county. We have pretty much one law office that does everything, and they provide a list that's very refreshed, and it's about a 2 to 4 week buffer before it actually gets on the county website. So obviously, these are people where a foreclosure date's actually been filed. Like they've been filed a day, like this day and time, it is going to be sold at auction. Whereas Trellis, there's no auction date set. But this is also a great place to be because usually, people in my state 2 to 3 years down the road not making a payment and they finally actually have a date set, that's where stuff starts to move a little bit faster. So sometimes it works even a little bit better. But that's what I'd recommend, going to auction.com, finding the typical law office or law offices that work with foreclosures in whatever area you're trying to do deals in, and you're going to have a lot of success if they actually provide a list. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and that's just if you strike out, that is what it is. But at the end of the day, this is very, very good data to find, and like I said, I want to approach these people and basically let them know that, hey, I'm here to help you. I get it. I'm a real estate investor. Obviously, I buy houses. I'm not calling you for free. I get that. And they're going to respect you a lot if you say that. But at the end of the day, I want that to be our last option. We've dealt with a lot of these situations. We've helped a lot of people. There's a lot of options that you have. But at the end of the day, if that's your last ditch effort and we need to sell it before it actually goes auction off, we'll be your people. And they're just going to end up choosing you because you've actually been sincere and helped them throughout the process. So that is phase number 2, which is pre-foreclosure. So hopefully we are now doing maybe on average 2 to 3 deals now, right? We have outreach, we have pre-foreclosures. I would like to see some consistency here over the course of 6 to 12 months, of course. Obviously, those first 6 to 12 months, there's going to be zero consistency, and that's fine. But once you start, after those 6 to 12 months, you're starting to get maybe around 2 to 3 deals every single month. Think about it. That is you're making pretty decent money there. Okay, so now what we need to do is now we're getting some consistency. We have a few deals consistently every single month that we're doing. Now what we need to do is on to phase 3, which is what I call Bandit Signs. Now, you don't hear about this much. A lot of people talk about Bandit Signs in a very beginner way. They say, you know what, go stick those Bandit Signs, use Sharpie, go put them in intersections, and they teach beginners to do that right in the beginning. And why I don't think that's the best way is usually I have found better success. I have put out a lot of Bandit Signs in my day. I would go out on Friday nights and go to grocery stores. I'd go to the mall. I'd go to where a lot of people are going to on the weekends. 1, because the city workers weren't working, but 2, everyone was going to be in these spots on the weekends. And I put out so many Bandit Signs without getting a single homeowner for months on end. But where I found Bandit Signs to be so lethal and so powerful is when you are averaging around 2 deals a month or 3 deals a month using pre-foreclosure or cold outreach. And what you can do is you can stick these Bandit Signs in the front yards of all these deals that you're doing. Obviously, if you're in the beginning stages, you're not maybe you're flipping, which good for you. But if you're not flipping, you can make a deal with these wholesalers or these, cash buyers and say, you know what, here's the deal. I want to stick this little Bandit sign in your front yard. It costs you nothing to do. And if I ever get a call on this Bandit sign, you are going to be the first one. You get first access to the deal, right? And what it's going to do is usually I design these Bandit signs. They're all yellow, bright yellow, ugly as it can be, with black writing that says, I buy houses, literally in quotes. And you put your phone number in black, and it is going to be visible. It's going to be easy to see, very noticeable. But even better, when someone is flipping the house for real, or someone is actually, being real is what most of these people, call. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can. But when someone drives by a house where someone's working on the roof, someone's working on the siding, you see a painter at the house, you see people putting in flooring, you see all this stuff, and then there's a sign in the front yard that says, I buy houses. Instead of seeing that same sign on an intersection somewhere that's just like, who is this guy? I don't even know who this guy, why would I call this person, right? It makes it look so much more local. real and credible when you stick that bandit sign in the front yard of a house at the end of the day, because they obviously see that you bought this house, right? They obviously see that somebody bought this house and you did the transaction and it's being worked on. You are real. You do what you say you're going to do. And we have found more times than not that this can even, do one deal every month or 2 months just by doing this. Yellow bandit signs. You order 50 of them for $300 and you put them in every single front yard, 1 or 2 of them even, and nobody can take the sign. The city can't get mad at you, and it makes it insanely credible when you do this, because people are going to be like, wow, that person's real. They bought the house. They actually could buy my house too, or buy my Aunt Sally's house, whoever, right? And these people are going to drive by, neighbors will see it, do whatever, and they're going to call you. Maybe they know someone who may be in the same situation. I promise you, do not sleep on bandit signs. Once you're doing consistently 2 to 3 deals every single month, do not sleep on bandit signs. You are missing out on deals by taking 2 seconds out of your time and spending $300 a year on getting these bandit signs and putting them in the front yards. You're missing out. You're insanely missing out. And don't go too crazy with these bandit signs. I see a lot of people who, they put their website URL, they make it all colorful, they put their logo. Nobody cares. Put a yellow bandit sign with black writing that says, I buy houses, with a phone number. Nobody cares. They want, people who are calling bandit signs want the people who are local. They want the Joe Schmo that they think flips 1 or 2 houses a year, which obviously that's, however you play that. But that's what they're calling. They don't want to call the big dog on Google. They're never going to answer a text. They're never going to answer a call, right? Obviously, maybe they don't go to foreclosure, whatever. But this is a great way to get inbound motivated sellers, because you are now leveraging that credibility of actually doing a deal and sticking them in the front yard of that deal. You will get phone calls without a doubt. So that's phase 3. So hopefully after phase 3, we are now doing, maybe, like I said, 2 to 3 deals on average a month, which, like I said, maybe 4 deals a month, right? If you do it correctly, maybe 5 deals a month. If you do everything consistently, pre-foreclosures, cold calling and outreach, and bandit signs, man, you should be doing maybe 3 to 5 at that point, hopefully, right? After some time, and we got to be patient with it. But this is where I go into phase 4. The reason I choose this as phase 4, because this takes the longest amount of time, and it's only worth it if you actually have some consistency in your life, right? If you're doing consistently 3 to 5 deals, this is when you want to do this. But you don't want to do this too early, because it's a waste of time and you have no consistency, because this is going to take some time to actually load, and not only time, but a little bit of money at the same time. So this is simply the piece of getting visible on Google. Becoming the premier cash home buyer on Google is very, 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 very powerful. I cannot stress this enough on how powerful it has been for our own business, right? It's insane, because if you really, let's break it down. You're a motivated seller. You're, whatever's going on in your life, you inherited the house, you're behind on payments, whatever the case may be. And you go to Google and you look up cash home buyers near me, or you look up sell my house for cash, or you look up people who buy my house, or who could buy my house for cash, right? Or how to sell my house for cash as is. You get the point. But if you're ranking your website, your Google business profile, and you're running a PPC, which is Google pay-per-click campaign, and you are running this for these keywords, and you are the premier cash home buyer, which basically means you're ranking all 3 of these. So when they pull up any of these keywords, you're going to see your PPC, you're going to see your profile, your Google business profile, as well as your website. When this happens, you are now the premier cash home buyer. And what's going to happen is, I can tell you from my own experience, and still to this day, where we have our website running and crushing it. We're in a market of 250,000 people, nothing crazy. You wouldn't think there's that many people looking up this stuff. But at the end of the day, we get, on average, around 10 motivated sellers every single month from this, which is shocking, because in a market of 250,000 people, you would not think you get the results like this. And I honestly am shocked. When I first started SEO, I did not know. I thought, if I get 2 motivated sellers a month from this, they're going to be way high quality, rather than, trying to cold call and do all this stuff, because first of all, they come to you, which is amazing. Second of all, they are extremely motivated. If they're looking up something on Google, searching for you, and they fill out your form on your website, that is the most motivated seller that you could find. And there's no argument for that. But the good thing about this is, what I'm here to tell you is 250,000 people is not a lot of people, but it also goes to show that there's a lot of areas that are 250,000 people around that area, and people believe, there's not many deals here. There's not things going on. There's not enough volume to support my deal flow or a living with wholesaling, right? And that is just completely not the case. If you do these 4 pillars, you do cold outreach, you do pre-foreclosures, you do Bandit Signs, and then the last thing is getting visible on Google, I promise you, in a market of 250,000 people, you're going to crush it. You're going to crush it. We do 10 to 15 deals on right now in 2025, this day and age, every single month. And I've never switched markets. I've been doing wholesaling real estate for almost 4 years now. And it's something where people always underestimate the volume that actually comes out of their own city. Imagine if you were in a place with 500,000 people. Double that, triple that, quadruple that. I promise you, you are underestimating exactly how many motivated sellers are actually out there in your city. So go and get them. And the first step is obviously doing all these phases. Now, with SEO and PPC, it's obvious why it's so great. But what I would recommend, if you're on the more budget side of things, I would start with SEO first. It's very cost effective, almost free. To basically get it's free to get a Google Business Profile up, get it ranked. It's a little bit different thing, but you can get a Google Business Profile up for free. You can get a website up for relatively very cheap. My favorite company, I'm sure you maybe heard of it, is Carrot, and I say that not out of the ability to promote them for my own selfishness or my own benefit. I'm saying that because I run an agency called I'm the Real Estate Investor SEO guy is my agency. And we run SEO, PPC, and Google Business Profiles for real estate investors all across the country. And simply because I learned how to do it myself because I could not afford to pay anyone else to do it. And it took me hours and hours and almost years to learn exactly how to do this correctly, consistently all across the nation. And so now we do it for people all across the country. And if you are interested, whatever you're listening or watching, it'll be in the description, my agency website, and you want to get a quote exactly what it would be to become the premier cash home buyer, feel free to do that, and I'd love to chat with you and see what we can do together. But with that, I would recommend definitely doing SEO. It's a lot cheaper, as well as Google Business Profile to start, just because yes, it takes longer. Yes, you're not going to get leads right away for the first 6 to 9 months or 12 months, depending on how competitive your area is, because the more competitive your area is, the harder it's going to be to get your website to rank, and hence taking it longer. But at the end of the day, I would start with SEO, getting a Google Business Profile, getting a website done. And then from there, if it's like, okay, we're seeing traction with this, and if you have some budgets, I would start Google pay-per-click right away. And you want to set this up where only your ad is showing up for a search campaign, so you're only getting leads, or you're only showing ads for people who are searching up on Google for the keywords that you want. And I have multiple videos on my YouTube channel to do SEO, PPC, and Google Business Profile. So if you do want to learn how to do this yourself, you really can do it. Just depending on your area, it might take you years to learn. If, say, you're in a huge market like Houston, San Antonio, or these massive markets, 1 million plus people, 500,000 people. But if you're in a market of around 100,000, 200,000 people, it's relatively, I shouldn't say easy, it's simple, but not easy to get a website ranked. It'll take a lot of time. But obviously, if you want to hire me to do it and you want to spend all that time and you want to get a little bit quicker results, instead of having to learn how to do this all yourself, and you'd rather spend all your time just getting deals done, then feel free to give me a call. I'd love to chat with you. But those are the 4 pillars. Those are the 4 pillars of literally you do those 4 things in a local market of however many people that you're in, you are going to crush it, and it's almost guaranteed. If you stay consistent, you will crush it, without a doubt. So, without further ado, I appreciate you guys listening, watching the video, and I really hope you found some value in this. And feel free to give a like. Feel free to tell your friends to listen to this podcast, as I'm going to be making episodes pretty much every week in this podcast, just basically talking about exactly how to wholesale real estate. And not only just how to wholesale real estate, because all of you know what wholesaling is, but how to do it better. So it's not like I'm just trying to target beginners. I got nothing to sell you. I don't have any courses to sell. I only run an agency and do my own business here in my only local area. And so it's one of those things where I just want to use this to help as many people to not, obviously, like I said, you all know how to wholesale real estate. You all know what it is. I don't need to explain it to you. I just need to make sure that you are not doing the same mistakes that I did and spending thousands and thousands of dollars on complete bullshit and wasting all your money and time when I'm here to tell you all the ways that is going to benefit you as a real estate wholesaler, flipper, and setting you up for the years to come. But I really hope you enjoyed the video and listening to it. Thanks for listening.